Hey, good morning for the West Coast. Good afternoon for the East Coast. We're getting started here. I'm just going to wait for my one quick sound check from Gus or anybody else on the community, in the community. Just let me know that you're able to see all the tech and we're good to go. Hey, by the way, as I'm waiting for that, I just want to let people know, hey, Rafa, good. Congratulations on being the first one. Just letting everybody know that I did a post today. If you're in emerging technologies, or the innovation side of the federal market, take a look at a LinkedIn post I did today from the Navy. They have this entire, it's like 136 pages, I think, that I put out there. I shared it out, but almost every single page is a unique program or project. And on there, they describe, the details, what they were trying to go for, major milestones, et cetera. And then they have points of contact, like 3 or 4 for every single page. Some of them are duplicated through there, but I'd be willing to bet there's at least 100 different points of contacts in there, all related to the that same kind of space. Looking on here, good to go. Thanks, Susan. You're the first one I saw, and I'll just take my lead from you. I'm going to turn this caption thing off so I don't have that running the whole time, which kind of annoys a couple of us on my team. Let me just switch over to my screen, get rocking and rolling. By the way, if you do go over there and take a look at that post I put on later on, make sure when you look at it, if it's in your space or you like it, tag a couple of key people that I mentioned in there. Like there's a program manager, there's a commander of this. I think this was for NavAir. It's like NavAir Warfare Center Training Systems Division. I think it is TSD. And so Leslie Faircloth, for example, is the small business professional over there. She's awesome. If you're in that space at all, make sure you tag her, say thanks. But the commander's in there, say, hey, thanks a lot for having you and your team putting this out. But it's a great way to engage content on LinkedIn. And actually, I might show you some of that in today's video. But also, it's a great way to get visibility with that buyer if that's what you're, if that's important to you. Okay, I'm Neil McDonnell. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, and I want to welcome you to my daily LinkedIn Live training where I discuss processes and procedures for you achieving success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market myself as a small business owner, and since 2018, I've been helping people like you understand that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. Processes go from A to Z, and when we follow process, we achieve the success we hope for, the outcome that we hope for. And so today we're going to talk about the process of managing our activity around strategic teaming partners. I had talked about in a previous video, and I might get to this in a little bit, but I think it's, let me just check here really quick, number 86 for those of you tracking at home. Video number 86, which actually probably in my list of things is still up at the very top of an article that Gus or somebody will put into the chat. But video 86 was from Monday this week at the beginning of our training, a teaming set of training. And in there, I talked about choosing strategic partners. And so today is about how do you manage that? So we'll get into that. Before we get started, though, please help buyers learn who you are. Put your company name, your core competency, 2 or 3 words into the chat. And then also let people know if you're open to connections, right? This is a community. We often have 30 to 60 people, depending on the day and depending on what you got going on, coming in live. But then we have a ton of people who come in and watch it after the fact, including federal buyers. So make sure they can learn more about you and find out who you are in there. There was something I just wanted to say. I can't remember what it is. Drawing a blank. It was probably something like spectacularly important. I know what it was. Sorry. Before I move on to the main training topic, I wanted to tell you when you put into the chat your 2 or 3 word core competency, remember this tip that I give about looking at your LinkedIn headline, right? It says Neil McDonnell, and below it says government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. That headline that I have should match the 2 or 3 words I might put in chat. That's my tip for you, is to make sure they are that way. Also, make sure you look at your headline. If you struggle at all about getting a decent headline in there that says, hey, we help federal agencies treat data as a strategic asset by doing something right. It's funny. I'm about to offer my help on doing this and I'm struggling, but that's all right. I'm doing it on the fly. But if you need help doing the headline, let me know because I can look at your business really quick and I can, at the very least, get you beyond your job title, which is what you leave when you're looking for a new job kind of thing, into a headline. The reason headlines are important is because that's what people see that pulls them to your profile. And in this whole business, especially you're on LinkedIn, right? You want people to be bringing or to come to your profile, but the way they do it is not from your name, it's from your headline. They look and they go, oh, that person does elevator and other construction. I want to go check out their profile more, see if maybe there's a fit for me as a buyer or fit for me as a teaming partner. So anyways, that's the tip. Make sure they line up. Okay, let's get started. So I want to get started with how to manage multiple partner relationships. And in particular, I'm talking about time managing your time, right? This is not about the teaming partners. This is about, when I tell you you should have 8 strategic teaming partners, how do you do that? In today's training, I'm going to cover a couple of things. I want to cover how you can create a schedule that's going to maximize your output, but minimizing the effort it takes, right? Because I get it. It feels like it's a lot of work. There's ways you can be efficient and have process that'll make it easy for you. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about a recurring framework that you can use in these meetings when you're managing your relationship with your strategic partners. And then I'm going to talk about how you can stand out using LinkedIn to really keep strengthening that relationship. And so that's part of the time of managing this activity. So we're going to cover those 3 main things. And again, we're going to get started with the schedule. One of the things to keep in mind, though, is, and the reason I provide this training is I experienced this myself as a small business owner, and I've watched many of your peers around the federal market have this same challenge. Everybody will tell us what we need to do. Rarely do people actually tell us how. And when I say how, I mean like even down to the task level. What do we do? And so for the GovCon Chamber, for me, this is what we want to keep providing is the how. And in particular, when I tell you, you need to have, my recommendation to you is you need to have 8 teaming partners, strategic teaming partners, by the way, not just ones on opportunities, but these are ones like your primary agency. You're going to really learn a lot about them. Well, how, Neil, do I manage that activity? I heard somebody once say when they were actually talking to their boss, but their response back to the boss when the boss was telling them to do this was, man, that's a lot of meetings. Well, 2 things. One is, yes, it's a lot of meetings, but really, what else are you doing? Right? I mean, it's not wasteful meetings. I think wasteful meetings are a lot of meetings. But if you have meetings with strategic partners that potentially lead to millions of dollars in revenue, is that really a lot of meetings, or is that just the right amount of meetings? So let's talk about how you can look at your schedule, right? I already mentioned that I say have 8 strategic partners. And again, that's video 86. If you haven't watched that one, go watch that replay. But you want to have 8 strategic partners. And when you're managing that relationship, I recommend that you have a recurring meeting scheduled for every 2 weeks. And the idea of this meeting is that you're touching base, right? It's not about an individual opportunity. That's separate. It's a whole different activity. This activity is managing the strategic relationship. Reminder that a strategic relationship is one where I care about your company and I want to help be part of your success, and you care about my company and you want to help be part of my success. And so we're very interested in working together to grow both businesses out there. And so, and we see value in it, right? We see ourselves as synergistic or a complementary set of services that it makes sense that we're strategic partners. So every 2 weeks, you're going to have a meeting with this strategic partner. And I just want to throw some numbers out for you. The meetings should be 30 minutes, right? In fact, what I like to do, and maybe you're not at this stage yet, but later you can get to this, I actually like the meeting to be 15 minutes, right? It can really be super efficient and helpful for both parties, and you both love it. You're like, we're in, we get it done, we get out, right? When I was in the Rangers in the Army, we used to have this thing about we call it movement to contact, right? So you're moving towards the enemy, basically. And there was this line that taught you how to run. I'm up, they see me, I'm down. And the idea is kind of a 3-second run. I'm up, they see me, I'm down. I'm up, they see me, I'm down. And you can think of it the same way here with a meeting, right? I'm in, we talk about stuff, we're out. don't spend time wasting. But for now, we can keep it as a 30-minute meeting, right? And this math is going to help. So every 2 weeks, you're meeting with 8 teaming partners for 30 minutes. What I also say is add another 30-minute commitment for each of those teaming partners. So it'll give you 15 minutes to prep before the meeting and 15 minutes to do post-meeting activity out there. These activities will make sure that you're really using that 30-minute meeting together super efficiently. And by the way, like that post activity should be easy, because in the meeting, if you're using the right tools, you'll be able to track meetings and meeting minutes and action items and almost immediately send it off to your strategic partner. So you're getting validation that what you guys discussed and what you heard and wrote down, they agree with. So 2 weeks, an hour now, 30-minute meeting, 15 minutes, so an hour per teaming partner. So every 2 weeks, I'm talking about an 8-hour commitment to your strategic teaming partners, 8 of them. When you think about that, that's like a very small amount of time in a 2-week period. How many hours do you typically work in there, right? When you think about a typical week, do you work 40 hours a week? Every 2 weeks, do you work 80 hours, right? For most of us, we do. And if you're in the federal sales space, then you're 100% dedicated to sales. This is just 8 hours out of that. So 80 hours in a 2-week period, I'm asking you to align or assign 8 hours, only 8 hours towards managing strategic partners. And that leaves you 72 hours to do capture, other business development activity. You may think to yourself, right, I'm in a meeting with a strategic partner and we talk about stuff. Well, don't I have other activity? You do, but that activity is not related to maintaining the relationship. It's related to, let's say, a particular opportunity that we're talking about. That's capture activity. So you're always going to have capture activity. The 72 hours is available for you to have, in-house staff meetings, go knocking on the doors for business development, go chase down key information for capture, participate in solutioning with your proposal team. So there's, when you manage your time, you'll be able to get things done. Well, the 8 hours that I'm asking you to do is what I call quadrant 2 time. Stephen Covey talks about in 7 Habits for Highly Effective People, right? Go read that book if you haven't read it. He talks about 4 quadrants, and the one that's most important is quadrant 2. It's important but not urgent. It's so easy to miss and not get to, because you have things that are important and urgent, and they require your time, and we get that. But you have to be faithfully going into quadrant 2. So you don't want to give yourself, let's say 20 or 40 hours of quadrant 2 activity. It's not enough time to deal with all the, the fires or whatever that you have. But if you just do 8 hours, really it's 4 hours a week, right? When I break this down to a price of a cup of coffee a day, if it's 8 hours for 8 partners in a 2-week period, 4 partners this week, 4 partners the next week, it's 4 hours a week out there. You can do this. And so that's just a time thing. Let me move to the next bullet that I want to talk about, because there's the time. How do you manage that 1 hour, right? And in fact, I'm not even talking about today the prep and the post. I just want to talk about that 30 minutes. How do you manage it? Well, you manage it by having a framework, understanding what is the process for having a strategic meeting. If this is making sense, by the way, on the scheduling part, can you just throw in make sense on the schedule? Put something in the chat that gives me a second to drink water because I'm dying. Or you just give it a thumbs up. Okay, come back to me. So recurring meeting framework. In here, you're going to have a basically like 4 parts to the framework of your meetings. When you go in and meet for 15, 30 minutes with your strategic teaming partner, and by the way, what I'm going to tell you, you want to make sure you're telling, working with your strategic partner at the very beginning to say, hey, this is a framework I like to follow. Is that okay with you? Make sure they're on the same page. They're going to love it. We all love it when somebody comes in and helps make sure the meeting goes where it should go and it's efficient. By the way, thanks for putting the make sense. I appreciate seeing that. So meeting framework. First thing I do when I go in is I want to do a meeting minute recap and to talk about any outstanding action items. So when I say outstanding action items, I mean last meeting we had 5, 2 of them got done. Theoretically, we bounced emails back and forth and we talked about those ones that are done. So when I say the first thing I want to talk about is meeting minute recap, that means, hey, last meeting we talked about this. We had these action items. These 3 are still outstanding. And when you think of order of priority, if all you get done is that, then that's good. You're talking about the open action items and you want to talk about, are there roadblocks to getting that done? And an action item might be, get into the program manager or program office to try to find, somebody who can tell us more about this opportunity we're chasing together, whatever, right? So that's an action item. Hey, I tried to call this person. I sent this email. I did this other thing. I'm not having any luck. I'm still working on it. Or I'm not having any luck. Do you have any suggestions on how I might be able to get in there? You're working as a team, right? You're not reporting to each other. You're working together. And so the first thing I like to talk about is just confirm. Last time we talked about this, we said we were going to do this. We good? Okay. Now the second thing I want to talk about, you should be talking about with your strategic partner, is to review the current joint pipeline review or items, right? And so you want to do a current joint pipeline review. And here, what you're talking about is when you meet with a strategic partner, you're basically meeting together to identify opportunities you can work together on that are somewhere in the future, right? And in here, it's just a pipeline review, similar to what you would have with your colleagues inside your own company. But here, you're talking to each other saying, hey, we had these 5 in our joint pipeline, right? Your own pipeline, you might have 20 or 50. But with this strategic partner, I've got these 5 opportunities we're working on together. Are they all still bidding, right? So one of the first things I want to check is, hey, John, did anything change? Or are we still bidding? Your company is still committed. We just want to make sure we know right away in this touch-based meeting whether there's anything changing to the pipeline. No, we're still in. Okay, now let's talk about those 5 items in our joint pipeline and some of the details that are in there. When I look at those items, I always start with the due date or the expected RFP drop date. So if we have an RFP already out, then we're talking about the proposal. And by the way, this is not a proposal meeting, so don't let another meeting come into your touch-based meeting. If you're working together and an RFP is dropped and you're writing it, well, the 2 proposal managers should be coordinating meetings that are separate on that opportunity. This 15 to 30-minute meeting is about all of your joint activity together. And so you got to make sure you don't scope creep and talk about too much. But I do like talking about very quickly, hey, we've got these 2 RFPs. I don't think we need anything. I mean, it seems like the team's doing good. Okay, perfect. Or if there's issues, I feel like people aren't talking to each other. Well, then let's you and I solve this. We're the ones committed to our companies having a strategic relationship. Let's solve any challenges they might be running into. Then the next thing is any pipeline expected RFP dates. And so if you got an RFP dropping in November, another one in February, and another one in June, we'll talk about them in that order. That way, if your meeting gets cut off, you're not talking about June 2023 now, and you didn't get a chance to talk about November 2022. Does that make sense? I think it does. Next thing you want, so meeting minute recap and action items, right? Next thing is the joint pipeline. Third thing is recommendations for additional joint pipeline items. So if either of you have an opportunity you want to really work with these 2 companies coming together and working together, this third bullet is when you touch on that. Don't touch on it before you touch on the ones that are already in there, right? Because if you do, then you're doing constructive procrastination. It seems helpful to talk about a new opportunity right away. Hey, this is exciting. It looks really good. Customers excited. Well, you're talking about the shiny object, right? But when you put it in its proper place after the existing pipeline review, it's no longer a shiny object. It's process driven. You're talking about, hey, John, I saw this opportunity at the Air Force. It looks good. Have you been tracking on it? Do you want to talk about it briefly? Let me just put it on your radar and let's talk about it the next meeting. You generally should not be talking in a strategic meeting about anything that's urgent. If you are, you really need to reevaluate how you're managing your time. We can come back to that on a separate training. But in these strategic meetings, you too are helping your companies look out year, either on all agencies, if you're at that size, Or generally it's about, like, let's say the Air Force, where I just used that example. You're looking out multiple years, 2, 3, 4 years of pipeline opportunity. You don't have to discuss them all, especially like 23 and 24 or something right now. You don't have to discuss them all in every single meeting, but you do want to be tracking on it. By the way, quick sidebar, in a strategic partnership, never have a lot of opportunities. I would limit it down to, I'm trying to reach here, but no more than 4 a year generally. You want to find the best opportunities. Not every opportunity we could work together, but we want to find 4 that we, two companies, could knock out of the park and win. And just because we're working together, we make it so much stronger. Okay, so let me come back to the framework. You got meeting minute recaps in the action item. You've got the joint pipeline review. You've got the recommendations for any additional opportunities to that joint pipeline. And the last thing is, before you end this meeting, have a review of the action items you just talked about and plan out any capture one-off meetings. Remember, I said that this meeting is a strategic meeting, a big picture meeting, but you might have a conversation when you're looking at the opportunities in the joint pipeline and go, you know what, we should have a one-off meeting and come back and talk about that, maybe 30 minutes just on that opportunity. Or maybe I want to bring in a couple of solutioning architects, et cetera. And so at the end of the meeting, that's, it's pretty standard stuff. We review action items that we've agreed to. Okay, you got that, John. I got this action item, and then schedule with anybody else the one-off meetings. So I hope that makes sense. That's the recurring framework. I don't know if somebody put it in. I'm happy to come along, by the way, afterwards and put in the comments and say, here's what I was saying. Here's the tips. I wanted to use, I'm pretty short on, well, I'm not short on time since I'm always kind of fire hosing this, but the last main thing I want to talk about is how do you stand out using LinkedIn to really be in John's mind, right? Remember that even though you and John might be meeting, John's still got all sorts of other teaming partners he could be looking to support. And in particular, if you're looking at a really targeted small business teaming partner that's in an agency of choice, or you're looking at a large teaming partner like a Menem or Booz Allen or somebody, you want to stand out. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips, and then I'm going to pop in really quick, share my screen, and show a couple of what I'm talking about. First thing is, and let's just use John. John's the person I'm using today. Connect with the person that you've got this strategic relationship. Connect with them, absolutely. Don't just follow them. Connect with them on LinkedIn. You talk about that with them and say, hey, I'm going to connect with you. But make sure you hit the bell notification on LinkedIn. What this does is anytime John posts anything, LinkedIn will notify you. John is a strategic partner. You want to know everything he's saying. Now, you hope that he doesn't use LinkedIn like Facebook, but it doesn't matter if he does, because you're so committed to this relationship, you'll just ignore all that and watch for the stuff that relates to what you two are working together. So connect with him, and then hit that bell notification. Going with that, go to his company's page and follow that page. When you follow that page, when they post stuff, LinkedIn will push it to you certain times. You want to make sure you actually go in and check on that on a regular basis. And this goes into the third bullet, right? Is both on John's content and the company page, when you see stuff in there, engage with that content. Give it a thumbs up. And not everything, right? But anything that's even remotely related to what you two are talking about, give it a thumbs up. Look at the content John or the company has put in and put comments in there. On the company page, if it makes sense, figure out how to tag, at John Smith, how to tag John in the content that the company put out, because maybe it's a big company. They don't even know it's there, right? You can tag this and say, John, maybe we should talk about this in our next meeting, whatever, right? But engage that content and tag them. The last thing is tag them on content they might find valuable that's somewhere else. And so an example is, let's say, I use the Air Force, but let's say the Navy, we're working together. I might tag them on something that was posted by somebody in the Navy. I can engage that content and put a comment in there or something, and I can tag John. Hey, John, this is exactly what we were talking about earlier. Or, hey, I think you might value this because your company is doing this. Keep in mind, a strategic partnership doesn't mean that you always have to be in the picture. Sometimes you're going to help John just for the sake of, I know this will benefit him and his company, right? There's no fit for me at this moment, but I still know it's going to help him, and I happen to come across it. I'm going to tag him. Let me share my screen really quick to show you what I mean there. Okay, pretty sure I'm sharing my screen here. And I'm coming here to Tim James. And this guy's in Naval Air Force or Air Warfare Center Training Systems Division. Hey, I got the name right earlier on. This guy actually posted something interesting. So I like showing you what I was talking about. I'm coming in and I'm talking to you about teaming partners who are companies, but let's just pretend this guy's the same thing, even though he's in the Navy. So what I want to do is not connect with them. I want to follow. When I follow him, I'm paying attention to his stuff. And I'm saying, whatever you're putting out is important to me. I'm not asking for connection requests, etc. He might want to follow me at some point. I might want to connect, but that's the next step of our relationship. So here I'm just following, saying, I value whatever you're going to put out. I said do the bell notification. It's right up here. When I click it, I'm going to get notified about all of Tim's posts. So I'm going to click that bell. And now the bottom left, you see where it says you'll be notified about all the new posts from Tim. So it's pretty much the same message that was up above. Those two things I was talking about. I can go to the company page, but I think you know how to do that. But I wanted to show you, here's a post that he did, right? So in here, he was putting something out, and this is the navigation plan. It was great because this is a great document. You're going to see me share it again myself somewhere else. But it was awesome because he shared it. Well, I think that Greg over in Bayan Group, by the way, there's Leslie Faircloth. I told you, right? You can get in and follow her. She's a great champion for smalls. So I'm going to give this a thumbs up. And I might say, I'm going to do a quick comment because we're doing training, but this is live, right? So I'm going to say, hey, Greg, because I know Greg, Greg. So let me type it and you can see it. I know. So I want to put his company's name in here, Bayan Group. Where are they? Did I spell it wrong? Oh, man. Well, I can't deal with it right now because I don't want to waste your time, but I forgot it. Sorry, Hunter. I know. Let's do this. I know Hunter. Man, my LinkedIn is just not working well today. And you are focused on Nav Air Warfare System, TSD. Thought you'd value this. So I'm just trying to tag him, right? I mean, I'm doing this live training, so I don't have it. But this is a good enough comment. So I'm doing two things, right? Is I'm letting my strategic partner, in this case, Greg and Hunter over in Bayan Group, who do Microsoft 365, know about, I know that they're trying to get in to TSD, actually. They're in this community. That's how I know it, is because I see their comments and things like that. So I'm going to tag them. It lets them know I'm thinking about them, right? So I'm going to post that. But it also now will let Tim know about these guys. These guys are now on his radar, and he might look and click on this and say, who's this Greg guy? Who's this? Who's Hunter? Right? And so that kind of basic engagement on LinkedIn will help build that strategic partnership out there as you're moving forward. So I hope all this made sense. If it did, there's Hunter. I see. Oh, Bayan, sorry. Oh, what'd I do? Oh, and then A. Oh, I'm crazy. Sorry, Hunter. Anyways, hope this made sense. If it did, give it a thumbs up. Not just to let me know it made sense, but also to let LinkedIn push this out to other people who might value it. We want more people in the community, because the more who come in, the more we'll learn what your company does, what your core competencies are, et cetera. Hey, tomorrow we've got the last of our 5 teaming training on LinkedIn. And so it's how to pick the best strategic teaming partners. Come in, actually make sure you go in and sign up for that, right? Click that you'll attend so you can add it to your calendar, and I'll see you tomorrow on that. Thank you very much for joining me today. I'm tight on the time, but I appreciate you being here with me all the way to the end. Remember, government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. I'll see you next time.